Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Dan Bird, who is teaching him how to be a non-emotional trader, which is hard for me, I will admit. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited for what is coming. I don't know about you, but I think I've been in cash a lot longer than I thought I would. But, you know, we are getting to levels that you have called, which makes me get up and pay attention. So I got to ask. I want to get a shopping list ready. It will be time to go shopping eventually. So help me understand what I should be looking for to get my shopping list ready.
All right. So let me share my screen here.
Yep.
I'm going to start with my newsletter.
Sure.
Hang on one second. Let me find it. Sent it out yesterday in the morning.
Yeah, you did.
Here we go.
There it is.
Okay, you can see that.
Yep.
All right, so there's a lot in this. That's what we just talked about. We talked about all this already.
Yep.
So this is also from that guy that I mentioned before, Tom Bowley. Mm-hmm. He talked about things to look for, make sure you're following relative strength. And he specifically called out pharmaceuticals. He said pharmaceuticals are showing relative strength, even during the sell-off. Mm-hmm. All right, so that kind of shows you down here is the pharmaceutical industry mm-hmm. versus the whole S&P. And when this is going up, that means that industry group, pharmaceutical industry group, is well outperforming the S&P. So that's one way to look for areas to find stocks. All right, so here's the pharmas, and I actually went out and searched this particular industry group, and I put the names. I sorted these in two different ways. One way was, of the pharmaceuticals group, here's the top 25 ranked by technical strength. All right.
Yep.
So this is something that that Stock Charts does. It ranks the charts themselves based on short-term, medium-term, and long-term strength.
Okay.
All right. And it puts more weight on the long-term strength, but it groups them all together in what it calls a scooter score. Scooter, right. So it's a score of 0 to 100.
Oh, okay.
So the higher it is, the better technically it is. So I sorted these first top 25 based on that particular score.
Okay.
And we'll just glance at some of them. McKesson, you probably know that name.
I do.
Intracellular is one that a friend of mine who does nothing but biotech stocks has been pounding the table on for quite a while.
Okay.
That one's in there. You can see others like Bristol Myers, Merck, Eli Lilly. They're all in there, Johnson & Johnson. So these are the top 25 ranked technically.
Okay.
And then these are the top 25 ranked by percent of change on Friday. So the ones that made the biggest moves on Friday.
Gotcha.
And some of these are low priced stocks. So folks like to gamble a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Not pennies necessarily, but $4 or $5, $2, $1 stocks. And they're making huge moves, and they're in the same industry group.
Okay.
All right, but you can also see there's not too many of those big names in this one.
No, you wouldn't think.
But I did it two different ways just to give people, a way to go out and do their own research.
And again, this comes in your newsletter. It's again, I want people to realize this is stuff you do for your portfolio, and you're basically just putting notes together and you share it.
Yeah, that's right. It's the research that I do, and then I just put it together. Now, one thing that I thought was really interesting, because I always look at the VIX, and I had one of your listeners give me a really good tip on how to use the VIX, and I'm actually going to use it.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about that here, but it's a way of comparing the VIX with the S&P and putting it on the 4 charts at one time.
Oh, okay.
They actually see what's going on, but I always look at the VIX anyway.
Yep.
So this is the VIX at the bottom panel, and this is the S&P at the top panel. And normally the VIX and the S&P, you want to see sort of them in mirrors. Oh. So when the S&P goes up, the VIX goes down.
Got it.
All right. So right here, you can see the S&P went up, the VIX went down. When the VIX gets to this pink line at the top, it's usually very oversold, and that's when you usually get a bounce. So
Yeah,
we got
that's
one right
30,
here.
36, 37.
That's 36, 37.
Okay.
And then when it gets down here to 20 or below 20, that's very overbought. And that's usually when you start to get a sell-off.
Okay.
So you got to kind of think in an opposite way of these.
Yeah.
So they should be mirrored, right? They should be. Now, what I did was I took the last, month and a half, basically.
Oh,
and you can see the S&P going down here and the VIX going up. That's what it should do.
Yeah, I was going to say that box looks normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
Okay.
And then you see the little rally that we had in the beginning of May. The S&P went up and the VIX went down. So they're mirrored. That's normal.
Okay.
But then look what happened the last couple of weeks, last week and a half. The market sold off huge, big time. But look at the VIX. The VIX should be way back up here at 37.
Yeah, I've heard many people talk about they would expect a normal market where the VIX could be approaching 40 in a market that sold off that hard, and it didn't happen.
Right. It didn't happen. Yeah, in fact, the VIX actually was trending lower.
So why do you think that is? Is that retail buying the dip, or what caused it? Because that is so. I heard Thursday specifically 5 or 6 talking heads say they're like, I can't explain it.
Well, what I think is happening here, and in the next couple of views, we'll confirm this. What I think is happening is the last time we talked, which was 2 weeks ago, I showed you the relative chart of the technology sector versus the S&P.
Yes.
And before I showed it, you said I expect it to be going down. When I showed it, it was actually starting to go up.
Yeah, it pivoted up. Yeah.
And I said at the time, I think that big institutions are starting to rotate out of energy and utilities
into tech.
and into tech.
Did that happen?
And that's what I think. That's what I think this is.
Okay.
So all of this selling right here, the big institutions are taking advantage of this, and they're buying at the lows.
So they're buying, I don't know, ServiceNow and whatever.
Well, let's talk. That's a great lead in. So let's talk about what they're buying and how to find.
Be your straight man.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right. By the way, on the pharmaceuticals, you can go to this site, ETFdbcom, and it'll let you search for ETFs. And I searched for one that's actually a spider for pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
If you want to just buy the ETF instead of picking a particular stock.
Oh, that's nice. You
can buy this ETF, which is XPH.
Okay.
Selling at $40, and it shows you the top holdings. So Merck, Bristol Myers, Eli, J&J, Pfizer. So right now you could just buy that particular ETF if you wanted to. And this is the chart of that ETF, and you can see it's starting to take off.
Cool.
All right.
Yep.
So another little tip. Now, we are not financial advisors. We are not suggesting you go buy these things. You have to do your own research and take your own risk. But I'm just pointing out what these things look like. All right. Now let's go over here and go to what I call my daily routine. I have some scans that I've created in stock charts.
Okay.
And I have a scan that I call. First of all, I have something called best chart lists. That's where it combines all of the best stocks out there. So VectorVest Top 100, the Investors Business Daily Top 50, the NASDAQ, the NDX, and a couple of other things. So it's basically the best stocks out there. It's about 400 of them. And then I apply scans in different ways to that list of the best stocks. So there's different ways that I can look at it. This is the 8 moving average crossing the 21. That's the pink and the blue lines that I talked about before.
I remember.
But there's one that is very reliable. And it does not give me very many selections most of the time.
Okay.
And it's called the RSI buy strategy.
Oh.
Now, if you remember, the RSI is the relative strength index.
Yep.
It's something that I put on all of my charts. And it usually gives you a signal before any of the other indicators do. Now, all indicators like that are lagging indicators, by definition, because they have to use the price in order to calculate the indicator. But the RSI is the one that usually gives you the signal before anything else.
Okay.
So keep in mind, these are the best charts, best stocks. And I'm looking for the relative strength going below 30
Okay.
and then starting to move back up.
I look
Okay.
forward to seeing this. Okay.
And I usually, and I run this every day, and I usually don't get any hits.
Got it.
Okay. Because it doesn't happen very often.
All right.
Well, let's see what we get this time. Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
So let's look at some of these stocks. Now these are ranked by technical strength, but based on what the market has been doing,
there's actually
you
names.
should expect technically for these to be weak.
But there's names in here I recognize, because sometimes
exactly. So this name right here, is a really good one. AOSL.
Oh, okay.
It's been on the IBD top 50. It's been in the top 5. I think it was even number 1 at one point.
Okay.
It has a very low PE, but great growth.
Interesting.
All right, so that's one to watch. There's Costco,
Yeah.
Invitation Homes,
Yeah.
CubeSmart, Tesla, MP, Inspire Medical, Car Gurus, eBay, Intuitive Surgical, Workday, Amazon, Intuit, Airbnb, CrowdStrike, MongoDB, Mercado, Libra, Atlassian, Zscaler, Align Technology, PayPal, Okta, Netflix. Look at that. I almost never get any hits on this particular scan.
Interesting.
And look what it's given me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a chart list all together. And this allows me then to go look at these. So let's look at these in a chart book view. And what I want you to focus on, let me make this a little smaller so you can see all of the indicators.
Okay.
So the first thing to focus on is this top one. This is the RSI. Yep. So this is how I created the scan.
Right.
I'm looking for the best stocks out there that are going below 30 and then starting to come back up.
I got you.
Right there. All right. This next one is a weekly. This tells me how it's doing on a weekly chart. It's been awful, right? Technology has been killed, but it's starting to come back up. This down here is the accumulation distribution. You know, what are the big institutions doing?
So
they have been selling all the way back here, but look, it's starting to curve up. So all of these indicators are just beginning to start to move up.
Interesting.
So we can go through each of these very quickly and just focus on the two to focus on is the RSI, the top one, the actual price itself, and where it is in relation to its moving averages. So you can see the 8-day is the pink one, the 21-day is the blue one, and then the red one up here is the 50-day.
Okay.
And then you've got a 200-day way up here. So these are all, this is why technically they don't have very high rankings.
Yeah.
Because they're all below all of their moving averages.
Understood.
But just look at the shape of the curve.
Yep.
And then look at the accumulation distribution line, what the big
you.
institutions are doing. All right. So let's just step through these. Here's Airbnb. Here's Align Technology.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Yep. I'm with you.
Amazon.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Look at the price down here, just beginning to take off. Here's AOSL, the one that I mentioned, had a big run on Friday. Here's BRG. I don't know if this one's a residential growth REIT.
Don't know it.
Car Gurus. These all look very similar, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
There's Costco.
Interesting.
Costco's just starting to take off. CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike looks really good. It ended at its high on Friday, which means if the market hadn't closed, it would have kept going higher. Here's CubeSmart, also ended at its highs. There's eBay. FactSet. Don't know that one. FMC Corp. This is actually a Bitcoin mining company. Or Ethereum mining company. IDEX Laboratories, Inspire Medical. They all look very similar, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
There's Intuit.
Yeah.
Invitation Homes.
Yeah.
Intuit Surgical. These are all favorites of the big institutions too.
Yeah.
Now, these are the ones the big institutions buy or begin to buy when they want to add to their portfolio. So if I'm right that the institutions are beginning to rotate back in, they can't do that in one day.
Yeah.
It takes some time to do it.
Okay.
But these are the footprints that they leave
Right.
on the charts. There's MongoDB, there's Mercado Libre, MP Materials, Netflix.
Wow.
Netflix is still a little weak. You know, it's trying to make a recovery, but not a lot of conviction.
Okay.
There's Okta.
Yep.
Again, ended at its highs.
Yeah, look at that.
PayPal.
Wow.
Starting to come back up. That one's a little weak as well. You know, the thing to look at too is the volume down here.
Yeah.
So even though it looks kind of like the other ones, the volume is kind of weak.
Yeah.
It hasn't really gone above its 20-day moving average. Rexford Realty, Sarepta Therapeutics, Atlassian. This is a favorite of the big institutions as well.
Yeah.
That one's starting to make a look at the volume on that.
Yeah, that raced ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know this one.
No.
Terrano Realty. Tesla. There's Tesla. Now, Tesla is interesting because it ended with a spinning top. Instead of ending like those big solid candles we saw before, spinning top indicates indecision.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's when it goes down, it goes up, and it ends right in the middle. That means that there's indecision. There's equilibrium between buyers and sellers.
Interesting.
So it doesn't know which way it wants to go yet.
Okay.
There's Workday. Workday ended at its high with big volume. Zscaler. Same thing. That's the last one.
Very cool.
So that's a way when you get a big sell-off like that and then start to recover. This scan works pretty well because the RSI is pushed down because of the sell-off. The relative strength gets pushed down below 30 as all of those things are selling off. And these are the best stocks that the institutions like to buy. They're growth stocks and they're technology stocks primarily. So I'm not quite convinced that we have turned the corner yet.
Right.
But this implies to me that the institutions are starting to nibble.
Yeah, starting to nibble.
Starting to look for a bottom. That doesn't mean we don't come back down and test the bottom again at some point.
Yep.
We very well might. But if we do, I bet these institutions will start buying even more of this.
Wow, very cool.
But that's one way to find stocks, to buy.
The shopping list, as I call it. This is very, very exciting stuff. I appreciate all you do here. Thank you for giving us an hour each weekend. What is your email address if somebody wanted your newsletter one more time?
Here you go.
breakpointtrading@gmail.com. Send them a note, get on the email, see what I see every weekend. And Dan, I look forward to this week. I think it's going to be an interesting week for me.
Yeah.
Because it's going to tell me how strong the consumer is or isn't. Thanks, bud.
It'll be interesting. Talk to you next week.